And now, the Man in Black takes from his files another case history of an attempt to commit the perfect crime.
As he walked across the village square toward the church, Clyde Ross knew he was going to kill old man Hanson, the good sexton, the church bell ringer. Oh, it was going to be so simple and easy, he thought. There were only a couple of things left to do. The first was to see Father Vincent, to tell him how worried he was about old man Hanson, to tell him that Hanson was too old to be climbing the tower to ring the bell, that he'd slip someday and have a bad fall down the stairs, that he might even fall out of the belfry. Clyde knew how Father Vincent would react to this, and sure enough he did. "We cannot retire the old man as sexton, my son. Why, next to you, this is his whole life." Clyde knew that would be the answer and told Father Vincent that he was right. And he carefully added that he loved the old sexton like a father, although in fact, of course, Clyde hated him, and Hanson was not his father, but just a lonely old man whose wife had died 5 years ago, and who had given Clyde a home. Long since, however, Clyde had discovered that old Hanson had saved his money for years and now had an impressive sum to will to someone. Without much difficulty, Clyde wormed his way into the old man's heart, and now it was all legally arranged that he was going to inherit the money when old Hanson died. But Clyde was impatient, and one day he decided upon a faster way to get the money. All he needed was a good, simple plan, and a witness to say that he was somewhere else when the old man died. He found both easily. First, he decided that old Hanson would fall out of the church belfry and kill himself. And then, to prove that he could not possibly have been present, Clyde settled upon Henry Freckleton as his witness, that he was elsewhere when it happened. Henry had a hamburger stand at the edge of town, and for months in advance at the same time every Thursday night, Clyde would drive past Henry's and honk and wave at him. He let Henry know that he went every Thursday to Bedford, about 10 miles away, to a movie. And on Clyde's return, Henry would wave him back into town. And so it was established where he went each Thursday. But one night, the big night, Clyde didn't go to Bedford. He drove past Henry's all right, but then he circled back on a little wagon road that led to the woods right behind the church. He hid his car there, and a few minutes later he was silently climbing the narrow steps to the belfry. Old Hanson had just begun to pull the bell when he saw Clyde, and he smiled at him. Clyde smiled back, and waited until the sexton had pulled the bell for the last time. Then Clyde picked him up gently and threw him over. The old man fell without a cry, landed in the cemetery at the side of the church, and died instantly. Nobody had heard or seen the accident. Clyde took one brief look below and then hurried back through the woods to his car. Shortly afterwards, Henry Freckleton waved him back into town. The circle was complete. The crime was perfect. And yet, 2 days later, Clyde was arrested for murder. Where had he made his mistake? By telling Father Vincent of his concern for the sexton's safety. Because he'd been so convincing, the good father took the problem to the sexton himself. And old Hanson, touched by Clyde's obvious love for him, devised a signal to assure Father Vincent that all was well. He simply rang the church bell 4 extra times to signify that he was not in danger, that Clyde was there.
The Man in Black has brought you from his files another case history of an attempt to commit the perfect crime. This is the CBS Radio Network.